Linda from Lányos Handmade, and today we have another Marathon Sewciety sew along for you. So be sure to check the link below and you can follow along with everyone else's Halloween makes. Now I'm going to make for you today the Datura bag from Cork and Copper Designs. I did hack it a little bit because I left the pocket off the back, but there is below a link for making the Datura with the pocket too, so I'll put that below too for you. But I left the pocket off because I wanted to put on more of these HTV appliques. Now these came in a bundle with a bunch of other appliques. I don't even know how many. I think there's a coffin, two kinds of ghosts, a cauldron, a Canadian flag, tombstones, coffins with bats. Boy, I never even saw those ones. I should try that one too. Anyway, there's a bunch in here, so take a look at the link below to see what kind of appliques there are. They're not just appliques, they're strap ends too. And I made this as a strap end, but I turned it into a keychain because I didn't want to have a strap end on this little bag. But if you had a bigger bag, you could use this as a strap end, and it would be really cute with one of the appliques. Now these can be cut out by hand, or they can be, you know, cut on your cutting machine. I used my cutting machine in HTV vinyl, so that's how I stuck all mine on. But you could cut them out yourself and sew them on, or use rivets to put them on, because she has some with rivets and some without rivets. She gives you every single option there possibly is. So I made a keychain and I'll show you how, and I made the Datura bag and I'll show you how. It's got, I kept the little card slots inside, but I just didn't do the pocket on the outside like I said. So check out the patterns. You might find something you like. So hopefully you can't hear the chainsaw going in the background. Let's start off by making our front piece. So this is going to be the front with the lining, and this is going to be the zipper part on it in between here. So let's get our zipper too so that we can sew it on. She doesn't have us putting the zipper pull on yet, but she'll let us know when's the right time. So we have our zipper, and let's open it up, and we're going to sew part of it right sides together on here, and part of it right sides together on here, and that way when we fold it up it'll look good. So I'm going to just do that part of it now, and then I'll come back and we'll add the lining onto it. Okay, so that's done. Let's do the next step now. We're going to put this on right sides here, because when we turn it over and top stitch it, it'll be good. So this is right sides together with the bag part here, and this is right sides together with the bag again here, and we'll sew this on. Now it's time for some top stitching. So I just like to stick pins in it to flatten it out a bit so that I can top stitch it, and I'll do the same on this one, and then I'll just top stitch along the edge of this here. Okay, top stitching is done. It really flattens it out nicely. Let's put on our zipper pull. It's kind of frayed here. I might have to clean it up, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, a little bit messy. I'm going to sew some zipper stops at the end here so that nothing falls off while I'm working with it. I just zigzag back and forth in one spot so that it stays, it doesn't pop open. Okay, I've got my little stop sewn on here. I'm going to straighten this out so it's nice and smooth. We don't like that hanging over. And I'm going to round the tops on this because I didn't use pattern pieces, I used the cut information. So I have to round it on all 4 corners. This one does not have the pocket on the back because I wanted to take the opportunity to have more space for ghosts. So if you'd like to see one made with a pocket, then I've got another Datura bag that I've done a video for, and I'll link it below so you can see the other way to make it. But right now I'm just going to round these corners and then we can move on to the card slots. Okay, you can see I've rounded my corners. These 2 pieces are exactly the same. Sometimes you might end up with this piece a bit longer because you've used a bit larger seam allowance for sewing the zipper on, or a smaller one. So don't worry if you do, just make sure when you put the 2 pieces together that if you have to trim something off, just trim it off the bottom. Probably just 1/8 of an inch or something. So these pieces are ready. I couldn't bring myself to cut those after I put those little zipper stops in there. I couldn't bring myself to cut them off, so I'm going to leave them until I feel better. So I have pressed the card slots into the pieces that they look like right now. I'm going to just edge stitch the top 3, and then after that I'm going to open it up, not with the back, and just sew them down here so that they don't flop around as I'm putting it together. So I'm going to top stitch these separately, and then I'll sew the sides just to hold them down. Okay, you can see I've top stitched or edge stitched these little 3 pockets, and then after I opened it up and I just sewed down the pockets so they wouldn't flop around anymore. And you might want to check to see if everything fits. Everything will fit, yes. There's going to be another one back here. So, next step. We're going to turn this inside out. I really should have some pins here. Just by flipping the back over on top of the front. And we're going to sew the 2 sides only, because the top is already on a fold and the bottom we need open so we can turn it. So just sew down the 2 sides. Okay, my 2 sides are sewn. I didn't sew to the top because there's that folded edge with the edge stitching on it, and I don't want to mess it up. So I went as close as I could. And let's turn it inside out, and you'll have an easier time turning it inside out if you concentrate on getting the back straight, because the front has those little pockets in it. And now I'm going to go press this so it's super, super flat. So I pressed it, and I even pressed up the hem at the bottom. So when I attach it to my back now, when I sew across here, it'll close that rough hem. And I sew up here and I sew up here. She has me sewing across here too, but I cheat and leave that open because it'll give me a 3rd pocket. It might not be something that I put anything in, but you know, I love a 3rd pocket. So I'm going to put this where she wants it and put on my label. I don't want to go too far down on the bag because this, you know, when you stick your hand in, you want to be able to grab your cards right away. So I'll check what the measurements are that she has us using, and I'll sew it on there. My label, I wonder if I should stick it on the front or the back. This piece is done, but I could still put my label on here. And then that way I could have this wherever I wanted it on here. So I might do that too. Put my label on this piece and put my card slots on that piece. Okay, I've got my label on. This is going to be the front. Make sure you don't sew it on both layers, just the lining layer. And I've got my card slot sewn on here, and I cheated and left this open. I don't know what it could be used for, but it's a pocket and I'll take it. And these 2 are definitely the size for card slots, these 2. Now, did you measure everything? Did you mark everything nicely? When I was sewing around here, you can probably tell because there's still threads here. There. I started from here and went up and came back a bit and then tied a knot off. And then I started from here and went up and came back a bit and knotted it again. And I find it easier to sew up a hill than to start sewing at this big thick area here and go this way. It's easier to go this way. So that's what I did anyway. So now let's get to the next step, which is working on this handle here. And we have our little rectangle ring on our short strap piece. And this is all ready to stay out of the way when we're sewing. That's why we tied it up in a little knot here. So our short one is going to be clipped on here with the measurements in the pattern and just basted on. And our long one's going to be clipped on here and basted on. Okay, these are basted on. Now we take our other outside. If you open this up too wide, you might end up with your pole falling in your seam allowance, so you might not want to do that. But right sides have to go together for your outsides, right? So let's clip this together. And this comes through here so it stays out of the way. And that way we can see it when we're sewing too. Makes it a bit flatter too so that it's easier to sew. I try and bring this little pole out too, but sometimes they're not big enough to come out the hole. And let's put all of this together. Okay, so we've got everything out of the way. Careful, I'm going to be watching for it. And we're going to sew all the way around. And we're just going to baste it because we still have to put one more layer in, right? So just baste it around. Okay, I've sewed around this piece. And if you peek inside, your exterior layers are right side together. Now I'm going to sew around this and stick this on here. Make sure this pocket isn't upside down, right? Stuck on like this, or you won't be able to use your card slots. So this goes on this way. I've made this longer so it can stay out of the way, because we are going to leave the top open. So I'm just going to clip around here. And that's pretty flat right there. And we're going to sew around and leave the top open so we can turn it. So just sew around to here. Now I have sewed around and I've also zigzagged and I left this open. This is a very small spot to leave open, so you know, be careful turning it. It helps if you have kind of some clips in here, but don't cut into your sewing. I'm cutting into my zigzagging, but not my actual sewing line. So let's turn. And we can poke out the corners. And you might notice, where did it go? There's an opening up here. You can sew that by hand if you want, or you can just flatten everything out and sew it with the sewing machine. I'm going to sew it by hand because I kind of prefer that way. Just going to make sure I get it all straight here. And then I can put the hem in. And sew that hem shut by hand. Okay, this is our last step here. I hand sewed this. I turn it back again. Next we do the straps. I just want to make sure this sits out there nice. Got my little zipper ready. Yep, looks good. poofy. It's got air in it. So there's the front and there's the back. Okay, let's finish this off now. We have our strap. And our strap is going to go through our end here. And then after it goes through the end, it's going to go through our little rectangle box here. And then it's going to come back and go through our end again. Now, if you want to stick it through a second time, you better push this up as far as it can go so that you can slide it underneath. My little center post is sliding back and forth, so it keeps getting in the way. And then pull it tight and check. Let's just hold this for a minute. Put a clip on it so we can see, did we do it right? Yep, that looks good. That looks functionable. You might not be able to see the whole thing in the screen, but it's done. So now I can fold this back. I should burn or glue the ends, but I bend it over and I'll stick a couple of rivets in it. I guess I could pull it up closer to here and put a couple of rivets in it. And then we'll be done. Now, be sure that you're not attaching this end up to here, because this is the one that's supposed to slide and this is the one that's supposed to be stationary. So make sure you attach it to the stationary one. I'm just going to punch a couple of holes. I don't know if I've got the right size here, but we shall see. Now let's put our other attachment on. Yeah. Let's try the smallest one. I don't know if it's going to be small enough, but we shall see. Okay, now that we've got the holes in, let's get these things in here. I can see my holes. Where did they go? There's one. go. So now we are done, and I just wanted to show you one more thing. In the pattern there are these strap anchors that you can use, but of course I don't need them for such a small little bag. But what I want to do is make a keychain, so I just printed off, cut with my Cricut another one of these, and heat pressed it onto here, this vinyl, and I'm going to slide it through my D-ring here. I hope it fits because it's pretty big. Oh yeah, I just got it. And this is really heavy vinyl. It's not very thick, but it's very heavy. And I don't think I need any stabilizer inside, but then of course I don't have any rivets that are this skinny to put this together. So I think what I'm going to do is clip it and sew around to hold on to it. And then we end up with our keys can go on here, and the little hook can attach it to here. And then that way I can have my keys hanging off my bag too. So I'm just going to sew around this, and then we'll be done. So which applique are you interested in? Make sure you take a look at the link below and try them out on a couple of your own patterns that you have at home, or try it out on the Datura or any of the other patterns that Cork and Copper Designs has. We'd love to see what you make, so please share. We've got some links below, different Facebook groups you could share in. And don't forget to check out the next person coming up, see what they're making for Halloween. So thank you for the pattern, Cork and Copper Designs, the two patterns actually, and thank you to the Marathon Sewciety for including me again today. Thanks for watching.